Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session, Citizens. Upsala, and now I spoiled the water, no problem. Citizens in Biodiversity Monitoring. It's the hop-in session number 6. That's good. Danke. And we are here at the Citizen Science SDG Conference in Berlin, Germany. And I'm here with my co-fellows, which is Jörg Freyhof here, and Martina Lutz, and myself, Sommerwerk, and we are all located at the Museum for Natural History in Berlin. Okay, dann fange ich jetzt an. And welcome to the ones here in the room, and welcome to the ones who are connected digitally to our session. And why did we want to have this session? We have great challenges to face. Sustainable life on Earth requires protection and sustainable management, in the best case, based on sound knowledge. And monitoring is an important tool here in order to reach and to be able to monitor environmental goals. But it has been shown in several studies that monitoring and the achievements of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, is not possible solely depending on traditional ways of data collection. These are, for example, censuses or household surveys. And why is this the case? Because if they are done on a regular basis, they are simply too expensive. So what is needed is actually a better utilization, a better use of other ways of data collection, new ways of data collection. And here citizen science comes into place, which is a really crucial and important piece in the puzzle of adding useful data and more data to the monitoring. And you know that citizens are already involved in many projects. They are collecting many biodiversity data. So this is just a glimpse here. You see some initiatives in Africa, in India, in Europe. You see the butterfly monitoring. So just a tiny snapshot. The community is really large and big and very diverse. And I want to show you some information which is based on a paper by Freisel et al., which has come out this year. And the question is, can citizen science also fill data for SDG monitoring? And what you see here is you see the little icons are the 17 SDGs. And then you see horizontally all the different indicators that feed into those goals. And what you see that in every horizontal line, so in each respective indicators of the SDGs, you see a yellow or a green box. And that indicates that citizen science is actually possibly could contribute to each indicator monitoring, or this is indicated in yellow, and this is the case for 76 indicators nowadays already, or that it even contributes already, which is indicated by a green box. And then you have, of course, some indicators where you have no alignment between citizen science driven data and the indicators. So yes, actually, citizen science can fill data gaps for the SDGs. But then we come, if you dig in a bit deeper, we see that you can already have a green box. You can already tick your box and mark it in green if you have at least one citizen science project that provides data for specific SDG monitoring at national or global level. So that's actually, the bar is quite low in order to come in here. And especially environmental data or environmental SDG indicators can be quite well fed with citizen science data. This study showed that this is the case for around 40% of the environmental indicators. But how can we engage better? How can our results be taken in better? It's for sure that citizen science has a great potential in improving the frequency and also the spatial resolution of data. And all this helps then to complement the reporting. But I really want to point out and stress, and this is something which is important to us, that citizen science shouldn't be seen only as a data source that could fill gaps. This has been also raised in the morning in the plenary session. it is really important to see that citizen science is so much more. It is so important that it can mobilize action, it can engage public in scientific research. And that's the thing, what I started with the presentation, saying that we have great challenges to face, and thus that is a pathway which should be followed. And this is why we wanted to have this session, and we are very happy that it comes to place, even though in this digital and an on-site format, because we wanted to dig a bit deeper and explore how can citizen science better contribute to national and international reporting obligations, be it the SDGs, be it IG targets or other sustainability goals on a national level. And what we want to discuss is, what are workflows? So how does it really work? What experience do experts from the citizen science and also the science, more academic science arena have? How can citizen science help indicator development? How can it help bringing in monitoring data? What are timelines that you need to consider? What is the overall practice? And we are very pleased that to our session we received really good abstracts. Due to the shortage of the session, we were able to accept 3 for a talk, for a presentation. But we have also received more abstracts, and please have a look at the poster area, because some of the abstracts and projects will present their work there. So coming back to the session theme, Citizens and Biodiversity Monitoring, we will have 3 talks. So additionally, there's the poster session, and then there's also the room for discussion, joint discussion with people here in the room, and also in the digitally connected to the session. And I would like to hand over the floor to Eugenio. So the floor is yours. I hope that it works out, that we see your presentation. Thank you. And I just wanted to add, earlier we had a trial, and the internet connection wasn't always that stable. So don't get stressed. You will most likely hear Eugenio very well and see his presentation. Sometimes his picture might be gone, but we simply continue. Thank you, Eugenio. I think you are still muted. Is that possible?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I was. Okay. It worked before and not now, right? Redo. Okay, so here we are. Can you see the screen now? Can you hear my voice? Okay, so what I'll be presenting is a collaborative work done at the Joint Research Center of the European Commission concerning citizen science and citizen engagement in monitoring of invasive alien species, also through the development of an app. I thank you very much, all people collaborating with me and the organizers, for inviting us to present our experience. So briefly, invasive alien species are living organisms which are introduced outside their natural range and then can cause serious socioeconomic damages, affecting biodiversity, but also the economy and the health of people. And this happens worldwide due to the movement of people, trade, and human activities. So the result of this can be massive economic losses, especially in developing countries, and this will hinders the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Our problem, what is the fact that there is lack of data and public awareness of the impact associated with these species, and these are barriers for their effective management and mitigation. So invasive alien species impact on ecosystem services, so the capacity of the environment around us to provide services such as food, raw materials, or regulating services like air quality, air purification, water purification, soil formation, and even spiritual values and recreation and aesthetic values, so cultural services. According to IUCN, the number of Sustainable Development Goals which can be affected by invasive alien species accounts for 10, explicitly for 10 of the 17, but since invasive alien species do not know borders and limits, they are affecting across different sectors of our societies and economies and daily life. Some examples are shown here, 3 species which are severely affecting Africa. One is Prosopis uliflora, is a thorny shrub. The other one is the fall armyworm, which impacts on corn. And the third one is the Parthenium hysterophorus, called famine weed. The name itself talks about the impact that this species has. This is what happens or happened in Lake Victoria due to an invasive alien species called water hyacinth, which is an ornamental plant used also in Europe, which covers a large part of the lake, hindering the transport, but also the life for fish and for people. The same happens in Europe and in other parts of the world. Here we are in Spain, where the species impedes the flow of water and also creates the right environment for the development of mosquitoes. So is a double effect. Now, for effective management of these species, we need to have updated data, and this is the reason why we have established this European Alien Species Information Network at GRC, which gives access to scientific information on the almost 14,000 alien species which occurs in Europe, for which we can retrieve spatial data as well, provides web services to produce maps and distribution maps of the species to support the activity of policymakers, researchers, managers, and stakeholders at large. And this is also an official information system which has been foreseen by the specific EU regulation on invasive alien species. To analyze, to observe, interpret, analyze rapidly changing phenomena, we think that we need more data, more accurate data, more distributed data, and that's why citizen science comes into the game. And that's why a few years ago we decided to develop this app, which goals are to raise awareness amongst the public, to help in the early detection of invasive alien species, to collect data on invasive alien species, and to engage with people to let them understand what the problem is and to be involved in the monitoring and management of these species. But also we want to make EU concerted action visible and recognizable across Europe under a specific brand. For that, we collaborate with the chef de file of this sector, which is DG Environment, with member state competent authorities in charge of the implementation of the regulation, research center, and citizen science organization. So the app is addressed to citizens, general public, scientists, professionals, and currently we have more than 3,000 downloads. The app has been recently updated with a new version. The open source is available in GitHub for reuse, and is available in 11 languages, further to come, we hope soon. And you can download the catalog, which contains the species of union concern, so the priority species or enemies #1 if you want, but there are also regional catalogs visible when you are in a specific area, like the Danube River Basin in Spain or in the Sava River Basin. The app can be branded with the logos and the contacts of the local partners. The main functionality of the app allow for identifying a species, reporting a species, and also to see what other reports have been submitted in the area nearby. Data are validated by our team with the collaboration also of scientists, taxonomists of our editorial board, and then are uploaded in the website and made available and searchable via the web services. So you can select and make visible the data of your interest. But we do not just want to engage and involve people via the use of app, but we are committed to streamline communication with the people, and that's why we have a dedicated section in the website where we publish news about invasive alien species relevant to general public. We use social media, and we have quite good feedback of communication. This activity is aimed at creating a European-wide community of interest, connecting as much as we can all actors working at all levels, at national level, international level, or regional or local. Doesn't matter in many ways, because people can better find what suits their need around them, and this is a continuous task we try to perform. There are challenges. We are not at the end of our work. So one of the challenges is the perception of value of biodiversity across Europe, because we are 27 different member states with 27 different ways of understanding and approaching nature around us, and this is very much linked to culture. There are problems about the lack of citizens' awareness about their role as stakeholders and contributors for policy making. There are language barriers and personal motivations. For that, we think that we need to work on target knowledge and training. There are limits constituted by resources, including scientific support and funding. And then there is this problem of the validation of the citizen science generated data to increase their reliability, to increase trust from researchers, from policymakers, and their integration and data sharing, their interoperability and accessibility across the different databases. And ultimately, we aim at building communities of interest on biodiversity protection and invasive alien species. What we want to do in future is to embed artificial intelligence in our app for the automatic recognition of images, so making the validation faster and more accurate, translation in further EU languages, integration of our databases with other citizen science projects, namely Natosfera, Natura 2000, and others, which are already ongoing in Europe. And we want also to develop a web application which mirrors the content of the app. And another activity is, another continuous activity is to enlarge our network and develop online educational programs like these massive open online courses to reach out students and teachers, virtual reality and gamification. So this is in a nutshell what we have been doing. I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much, Eugenio. I've seen that there are not yet questions in the chat, and maybe I haven't explained it well enough. The thing is that after every presentation, there's the option for you to place questions in the chat, and then I would screen the chat and ask it to the speaker. But as it is not yet this case, I have questions. Eugenio, maybe I wasn't listening well enough. So what I would like to know is the species data which are uploaded in the app, is this generated completely on a voluntary basis? And what I also would like to know, how is it, so how many people are actually involved? So how many citizen scientists contribute data? What is the trend? What is the development of people engaged? And how is this aspect of quality and data validation taken care of? So is that something which is based on is it a project basis? What about the long-term persistence of the data? Is there a server where those data are put to and even kept after the end of the project? And yeah, I think these would be my questions for the time being.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. First of all, the app is dedicated to a specific set of species which are regulated by the EU legislation, to which some others which are of local importance have been added. And therefore, people are guided to identify, recognize these species and report them. The number of people actively using the app is not so high at this moment, and the limitation was due to the fact that previous releases had only a limited number of EU languages. Now we have 11, including Turkish. Therefore, we aim at promoting the use of the app, which doesn't want to substitute what already is in place in many countries, because there are locally operating apps and monitoring of alien species, not necessarily regulated by the EU legislation. Our project is not supposed to end, because it is a large project of citizen science, and data are preserved and maintained in the database and acknowledged in terms of source. And so we will preserve that for the time to come, and make them available for research and scientific use or management use at large. Did I miss something in your question, possibly?
Yes, but I have a follow-up question. So is this actually already used for indicator monitoring of international or national guidelines, or is that not the case yet, or is it envisaged?
No, for the time being, what we are doing is collecting data, validating and making them available, and trying to, in future, if we had enough amount of data, we can also work on impact, on trends of distribution in Europe, but it's not directly linked to indicators, as you said before. But there are our data are connected to some indicators spelled out in specific legislations, like the Water Framework Directive or the Marine Framework Directive Strategy, which explicits some indicators concerning the presence of invasive alien species in terms of quality of fresh waters or quality of the marine environment.
Okay, thank you. I would like, because of the time, I would like to go to the next speaker, which is Christina. Thank you very much, Eugenio, again. I'm happy that it worked out quite well. Christina, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself briefly.
Thank you. I hope now you are seeing my screen. Hello, everyone.
We don't see.
My name is.
We don't see your screen yet.
No. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Now.
Great. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Cristina González Sevilleja. I'm from Dutch Butterfly Conservation and Butterfly Conservation Europe. And I'm going to talk about engaging citizens with preserved butterflies in Europe. I think the majority of you know that insects are declining globally. There has been several recent publications approaching that in a long-term data and also stressing the necessity that we need robust data for insect monitoring. Insect is a really big, large group, and they are affecting by many different pressures, but we don't have enough long monitoring data to prove exactly the causes they are measuring. So one of the possibilities could be use biodiversity indicators in order to know exactly what is happening in the environment for insects, and in this case to use butterflies, because they have a short life as an insect. They react quickly to environmental changes. They have different stages in the life of cycle. Also, they are really easy to observe and to identify. For that reason, also they are really popular in the general public. So we started to monitor butterflies a really long time ago. In the 70s, the first butterfly monitoring scheme, BMS, was set up in UK, and since then, this scheme has been expanding in all of Western Europe. And currently, we are 21 schemes monitoring butterflies thanks to citizens. In 2014, it was creating the European Butterfly Monitoring Scheme. That is a powerful network where all data is gathering in the same database, and it has the main robustness is the methodology used, because it's a standardized. It's a transit count, fixed route, where butterflies, species, and abundances are counted in a systematic and a regular way. And the easy rules is possible to teach volunteers and to training how to do it at the same time, obtaining high quality data. On the map, you could see the different transits in Europe, and in green and orange, the new scheme that have been included recently, but still we are missing many areas in Europe. So for that reason, we created the project Assessing Butterflies in Europe, ABLE project, to create a representative monitoring network of butterflies. It's a European pilot project of 2 years, and is a consortium of several associations and institutions. There are 3 main tasks that I come to summarize fast. The first task is related to the produce policy relevant butterfly indicators. So with all this data of abundances, we want to generate indicators of the population trends of butterflies in these different habitats, and share it with policymakers in order to use these results to impact on the land management and conservation measurements like Natura 2000, or also like the Common Agricultural Policy. The second task of this project is to support and develop the monitoring network. On the map, you could see in orange color the country we were collaborating, trying to join, to share the data with us to the whole network, or to start in the monitoring of butterflies with volunteers. This is just a summary really fast of all the actions that we did during these 2 years, where the most powerful action is the workshop and training seminars, where we express our message, why it's important to monitor butterfly, what we do with this data, and to create a community feeling where the volunteers understand that they can are really powerful and useful. This workshop was last year. This year we didn't have the possibility to do it. And the third task is related to the technology. European Butterfly Monitoring Scheme produced a website in order to gather all the data for countries that they don't have the resources and the possibilities, and all the data is easily uploaded on the website. It's translated in several languages, as well as the application that we developed during the project is called Butterfly Count, where it's an easy app where you can count butterflies in your transit or just in anywhere during 15 minutes, and the GPS or your smartphone will record you where you are at the same time you enter the species. But okay, so we developed this project to improve it and to have more monitoring of butterflies, but we need to use this data properly. So the butterfly data is used in the last report in the SDGs from Europe. In this report, specifically in the goal 15, that is related to the conservation of terrestrial ecosystems, where there are different indicators. And inside of the biodiversity one, grassland butterfly index is included. And you can see here in the graph how the trend population of 17 butterfly species has been declining since the 19th, and up to almost 40% in decline. So we were working a lot in this project. We included 9 additional countries to monitor butterflies more, and we will produce new indicators soon, but still we are missing many areas, and we have a deficiency of data in some habitat also. This data has been also used for the European Red List of butterflies. The last one was 10 years ago, and soon it will be a new update where we could see better how is the situation and the status of the butterflies currently. The data that we have is specifically for Europe, and we are missing a worldwide collaboration where we can approach the population trends of all the butterflies in the world. So in this case, in the SDGs, the goal 15 will be our approach to halt the loss of biodiversity. And here the indicator is the Red Legs Index. So we hope one day we will have enough collaboration in order to include the trends of the butterflies too. One new possibility that we hope it works is the new recent European initiative on pollinators that has the aim to create a monitoring scheme to monitor all these pollinators in Europe and understand better the situation, what is happening to the insects and what they are decreasing. So the lesson learned is that butterfly species are declining in the long term, but we have a lack of data deficiency. Citizen contribution data is vital for us, and it's really important not only to fill that gap, but also to have approached citizens to the nature and the situation. And we need more a necessity of collaboration. So thank you so much for you attending.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation. Maybe you hear the audience clapping. Thank you. I clap myself. And so far there's no question in the chat, but I have one. You mentioned a systematic approach. And so how does that work? Is it the case that you draw a random network of sites and then the people have to visit those from time to time again? Or are they able to choose where they want to go and whether the weather is nice? How does it work?
Yeah. Yes, sorry, I didn't explain it much that. Depending on the scheme in the countries, some countries, they decide that they determine the places where to monitor the butterflies. But in the majority of them is the volunteer deciding where to do the transit, the fixed route to count butterflies. Mm-hmm. And specifically, we suggest to do it close to your house or to your work. So it's more possible that you go more often to that area and to record the butterflies, right? And going up in the mountains. That is beautiful, that is quite complicated. So yeah, it's depending on the country, but the majority is the volunteer deciding where to do the counts.
Mm-hmm. And how is it then with data coverage? Is that sufficient? Is it possible to account for those preferences of the people so that they go out near their houses statistically? Or how do you deal with this issue that for example, more rural or areas which are more difficult to reach are not so much included, if I understand correctly?
Yeah, really good question. Well, that is, the method is standardized, so that's statistically is really good because we have the same effort monitoring, but it's true the distribution could be different. So for that reason, we have the grassland butterfly indicator because we have more or less good data available for that. But for example, we are missing a lot agricultural areas or really intensive areas managed that we don't know exactly what is going on there. So in some countries, they decide to determine some transits in area where they are missing. But yeah, it's true that we have some bias on that in the data that we try to compensate it, weighting it during the statistical analysis.
Thank you so much. And what I really liked about what was really interesting for me about your presentation is that that there are aims to introduce or to include that data even more into the monitoring of indicators. That you're aiming for that. And maybe we can explore this in the joint discussion a bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, here is one remark I would say in the chat, not really a question, that with bird monitoring the issues are similar. Yes, this was actually the intent why I asked the question. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so without further ado, I would like to introduce Enian, and the floor is yours, and we are happy to hear your presentation. Thank you, Enian.
Super, great. Thank you so much. Greetings from a very gray and miserable and rainy Vienna, but it's not so shocking for those who have been here. I have the pleasure of presenting. I have a very, very bad echo. Do you guys hear that or no?
It's actually quite fine.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just power through it. Okay. My name is Enian Murthy, and I'm based in the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis. And the Natura Alert application is what we'll be talking about today. And this is part of a bigger project called LandSense, which is one of the citizen observatories within the Horizon 2020 framework. These other co-authors weren't able to join you today, so unfortunately you're stuck with me to have to explain this project and this mobile app and web app a little bit better to you. So the focus of Natura Alert is for monitoring biodiversity threats using citizen science. And so to place this in the context of what we've also been discussing with other presentations and what you mentioned already in the introductory session, is that we're working very closely with the BirdLife International Partnership. And what they have done since the 1970s is essentially look at trying to identify, document, and protect places in the earth which are of greatest significance for conservation. And so they actually have created these important bird and biodiversity areas, which I'm sure people in the audience are familiar with. And there are some 13,000 sites across 200 countries. So part of what he wanted to do in this project is to ensure that we can offer something to help address this challenge of comprehensive monitoring of these areas. And how we wanted to do that was actually by working directly with one particular BirdLife partner chapter from Spain. This is SEO, and another one from Indonesia called Burung. You'll hear these two names throughout this presentation here. And what we did was essentially have a meeting with them and talk about what's preventing them from being able to monitor biodiversity threats within these areas. And so, and the first thing and foremost that we found out is that everything is done with pen and paper. And immediately we said, okay, we need to offer a digital workflow, a solution that can help them report these alerts and these threats both on site and from home using an application. So we offered them this solution called Natura Alert as part of this project. And what Natura Alert does is allow volunteers to report on biodiversity threats. And I'll explain what I mean by that a little bit more. It's both a mobile and web application. It, of course, with the technology involved, allows us to collect geotagged information. And also, and I'll describe the process here, something you alluded to earlier, Nikki, is the quality assurance and the reporting mechanisms that are associated with collecting this sort of information. Okay, so it's a digital workflow for volunteer reporting, validation, and subsequent national level assessments. I've placed the URL here and you can visit yourself to have a look at it. Now, as it currently stands, there's not much you as an outsider can do for this, because what we have actually done is built it specifically for two of these partners. So it works specifically with the entities in Spain, with the BirdLife entity in Spain, SEO, and the BirdLife entity in Burung, Indonesia. And what it allows them to do, both with the mobile application and with the web application, is actually record a threat category, the threat severity, the threat timing, and the scope associated with it. So what is the threat that we're looking at? And within the application itself, we have embedded the IUCN threat categories that a user can say that what they see here is residential and commercial development, potentially encroaching on a protected area. They can even record geological events like landslides and avalanches, which could affect biodiversity, of course, as well. How severe is this? What is the timing associated with this? Is this a quick event, or is this happening slowly? And what is the extent? Within the application, they can also provide a photo and a video if they like, but these are optional elements. So to work with this application, we first ran a test pilot in Spain this year, where we had some 40 participants contribute about 450 observations across Spain. The important thing to remember is that this application was pitched to BirdLife volunteers. So these are volunteers that already have somewhat of an investment in maintaining, in conserving, in protecting these areas. And the second level, or the second type of user we have, are IBA caretakers. So these are also volunteers, but people who are specifically responsible for an IBA. And normally they would visit this IBA on once, twice, maybe 3 times a year to select areas where there could be potential issues and then report about them. But the mobile application and the web application allows them to monitor these areas a bit more frequently. So now you get this temporal resolution that you mentioned, as well as the spatial element is, of course, built in. And the national level coordinators. So this is where the quality assurance mechanism comes in, where people can contribute any observation that they like, but it needs to be validated by both a caretaker and a national level coordinator before it gets embedded into the annual assessment on conservation status. So what we're working on right now is the conservation status annual assessment for Spain using this application. And the web platform also allows the national level coordinator to automate this workflow. They're saying, like, I want to include this threat. I don't think this threat is legit. This one is. And then at the end of the day, you have a spatial map and a report on this annual assessment, which can then directly feed into SDG indicator monitoring. The other pilot that we ran was in Indonesia, which had a slightly different flavor. We worked with local conservation groups and village authorities there. And what we did in that front was try to bring in this element of satellite image analysis as well. So what we were able to do is using the Copernicus satellite Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2, we looked at changes over time, and these changes were then sent out as alerts to these communities. So we worked very specifically within one island in Indonesia, and then the participants were able to then visit these locations and validate these threats or these changes. So for example, here you see an image where the satellite time series detected a change. There was some loss in tree cover, and then a volunteer was able to, in fact, validate that, saying, yes, there actually was a landslide that happened here, which of course it's very helpful for complementing and the Earth observation data itself, because of course we can't see everything from above. And as already mentioned in your initial introduction, as well as by the other speakers, the data that we collect here feeds well into SDG 15 monitoring. So we intentionally are working with BirdLife International. They are not a custodian agency of one of these indicators within these targets, but they are a data provider. They are a data provider for UNEP and IUCN, and so making sure that a accurate annual level assessment, a national level annual assessment is done would very much help to ensure that it feeds into these indicator mapping as well. Okay, so we've really just tested it now in these two locations and in showing the idea to other partners. We're now exploring these opportunities to scale it up to other countries. So we've received interest from the Netherlands, Greece, and Argentina. And in 2020, we hope to scale to these countries. And what the platform then will allow to do is really put the power in the hands of these partners, of the BirdLife partners, all over, so that they can then control the national level coordinator, for example, for the Netherlands or Greece, can then control what reports to include, what reports to not include for the annual level assessment. So the pilots were successful, but we now need to make sure that we can operationalize the workflow. As I mentioned, the Natura Alert is funded under this H2020 Land Sense project. The project itself is coming to an end this calendar year, but the platform itself will continue. Natura Alert as a platform will continue into 2021 and beyond. So hopefully you'll hear more about this, and hopefully it can feed into national level reporting and other important documents like the WWF Living Planet report and so forth. Thank you again to the organizers for the opportunity to share a little bit of this work that we're doing, and yeah, we'd be happy to entertain questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope you were able to hear the clapping.
Yes,
there are not yet questions in the chat, but here's a question. Maybe I can pass you the mic.
I just wonder, this is really interesting, but how can this then afterwards lead to action, so that, for example, if you map the threats, then afterwards what happens with the data?
So the mapping the threats sends a real-time alert to the coordinators and the IBA caretakers. So the IBA caretakers are there's a caretaker associated with each IBA, as I mentioned, and they can actually respond to the threat if it needs responding to. So there can be an immediate action that a volunteer can trigger from a caretaker as well as a national level coordinator.
Thank you very much. Are there further questions in the audience?
Maybe I could continue.
Yeah, please feel free.
So we've heard about these, sorry, my name is Aletta Bonn. We've heard about these 3 really great initiatives. Do they come together at any platform so that you can combine this maybe, or are there plans for this in GBIF or any other platforms?
We would love to.
Christina, would you like to add something?
Concerning the invasive species,
yeah, Eugenio, you could go.
Okay, concerning invasive species, we are already gathering data from a big network of data partners, which are 29, and GBIF is one of those. So what we do is collect, harmonize, and showing data which are of relevance to Europe concerning invasive species. But we are not integrating other data. This is the aim of the question.
Christina, would you like to add something?
Yeah. For the part of the butterflies, yeah, we share all this data from the project collected and before with the European Environmental Agency. So all this data is going to the Commission, and also in a more open platform, the data is shared with the GBIF. However, it's not completely, it's more the presence, not all the abundances of the butterflies, because still we are relying on the data owner of the country is not. Still, we are working on that to have it, open it, and to put it available for everyone. However, it's possible to request it for the data for any use.
Thank you very much. I think it was a very good question in order how to have that very valuable data not laying here and there spread around, and then it's very difficult to collect, but to find something where it can be uploaded in a shared way. But of course, there are data legal issues to it and so on. But this is, again, we are at this crucial point. But I would like to go to one question in the chat, which is again by David, asking whether you see opportunities for more co-design with the participants. As it might seem, I guess maybe that's the background of the question, that these are scientific projects, and at least to me, it isn't really clear how much is this designed by scientists stemming from the academic area, how much is the co-design part, and maybe can it be strengthened in the future? What do you think about it?
Ian, do you want to?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, from our side, as I mentioned, the participants aren't just any citizens. These are already volunteers that are embedded, let's say, within the greater BirdLife community. And when we did make the application, we did send a survey to them as well, requesting from them what they would like. And what they would like to see in the application, what are the pitfalls of the current way that they do their monitoring and reporting right now. So those have been integrated into the application. So it's co-designed to a certain extent, but of course we can probably reiterate that a little bit more and improve the design as we work with new chapters. We're not trying to create a solution that will be universal. We know that certain countries are going to be interested in some other factors more than others, and so we need to account for that as well as we scale up the application.
In our case, along with Ian said, our app was initially developed as a top-down initiative. Still, we submitted the concept of the app to a set of people for initial validation and to put forward a suggestion for improvements. And we are still devising some activities to let more people in and give comments and suggestion and improve what we are currently doing.
Okay, maybe Christina quickly and then.
Yeah, I summarize fast. Well, the methodology is the basic for us and is standardized coming from the 17th, so we continue using the same. But it's true that we try to include the participation in the design of the website or the app. We have a lot of suggestions and comments from the volunteers, what is necessary for them to make it easy. And also they could decide, as I mentioned before, where to do the monitoring, and the experts is more approaching where to do it better to don't have a really big bias. So we are trying to incorporate more participation for the volunteers themselves. But the methodology for us, we are using for many years and it's working quite well. So now it's quite complicated to change.
Thank you.
I wonder, Eugenio, the alien invasive species data, of course there are much collected, but what beside collection of data and listings, so how is the collection of this data related to the listing of the species into this blacklist for which the European Commission gives out? This is my first question, and my second question is, if I write a letter to you and ask for all the data to be downloaded, is this possible? So are they freely available?
Now, the first question, the flow is the opposite. So first, species are listed, and this entails a long procedure whereby supporting working groups are evaluating pest risk analysis based on initial suggestion from member state, the European Commission, or even from people to list something. So the pest risk analysis is evaluated, and after a thorough evaluation, then one species is published, and then we need to monitor it. So this is the first answer. Concerning the data, we do not own the data, but we just share the data and make our data available to anyone. So these are freely downloadable through web services via EASIN website. But if you have specific needs, we can tailor something which suits you in the best possible way. So you can address a specific question, but you can analyze and extract data based on taxonomy or environment or impact or the union species list. So yes, data are freely available.
And had they been downloaded and analyzed, maybe not by you,
I don't know if I have
by
answered.
others, for time series, for trends?
Oh yeah, you can extract according to your needs, selecting all the different parameters. Yes, but we do our analysis as well in with scientific publication for specific purposes, like serving member state needs in the implementation of the EU regulation.
Thank you very much.
I have a question. All the projects you are doing work seems great, and I'm wondering, why is it not already integrated in the indication of the SDGs? Where do you see obstacles? What would have to happen so that these data could be used in order to indicate the achievement of the SDGs?
Thank you. Very good question. Coming back to the to the aim of the session. Maybe Christina, do you want to start?
Yeah. Well, there are could be several obstacles. First of all, the reliability of the data, how this data was collected and the methodology behind. So we need to give more support of all these citizen science projects, how has been developed, and to be transparent and share everything. But still I think the validation of the data will be another part of the obstacle. And remove all this one and try to go forward in a better collaboration with everyone involved. So for my brand in the insect and the butterflies is our main issue, the collaboration and to trust to each other, how we can share data to a better objectives, to a major result, to understand what is happening in biodiversity.
Thank you very much. If there's
is also a matter of integration of policies. For instance, European Union is now integrating a lot of these concepts in the biodiversity strategy towards 2030. So, for instance, invasive alien species, for invasive alien species, an indicator has been set whereby endangered species in the red list should be the number of endangered species to be reduced by 50% by 2030.
Maybe just a quick point from my side is that it's an excellent question. I think a lot of these initiatives that you see are very much project-based, and when projects end, these applications or these data, of course, just end up being shelved or archived or something, and it's very difficult to, have somebody to go back and look at them and extract them and make sure that it's gets passed on to somebody else. That's for sure. I see one obstacle on that front. The second obstacle is also just the SDG framework itself and the way that it's set up with these different indicators. You have these tier 1 indicators, tier 2 indicators, and tier 3 indicators, like the data and the methodology associated with tier 1, for example. I mean, that we can't touch. We can't change that. Citizen science can maybe try to scratch at the surface of how those things get reported, but it is extremely challenging. And of course, tier 3 indicators offers an opportunity for citizen science to really make an impact between now and 2030. But at the same time, I think all the initiatives have value, and we just need to ensure that we carry that forward in such a manner that whatever global framework comes in 2030 to save us all, that we are somewhat more prepared than what we were for the SDG framework coming along. So, thanks.
Thank you very much. I think we need to wrap it up here. For me, at least, if I may have the last word, it was really interesting to hear about your initiatives, but to also see that the topic of this session is really timely and it is still valid. What we would like to offer, we would like to explore more about the issue of what could be possible workflows, what kind of practices are needed, whom do you need to contact in which moment of time, so that, for example, a set of indicators is not yet closed. So what is the right entrance door for citizen science in order to contribute more and to contribute more efficiently? And so we will don't wonder, we will contact you, the speakers, also our poster session participants, and also the participants of the session here, and also online, in order to see whether there's possibility to write a paper on this or a policy brief, because we feel that this is really an urgent issue, and we need to make a huge step ahead in order to harness citizen science into an area where it can make an impact, more impact. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zu. Thank you, Nike. Thank you to the speakers and participants.
Thank you for the organization. Really well done.
Yeah, thank you. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Really nice to meet you.
Bye.